Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I wanted to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons specifically being a hyper freighted activity. So I am extremely interested in a whole bunch of topics, but one of them is presence, right? So within Dungeons and Dragons, we talk about charisma, and that gives us this idea of what is actually what's the best way to think about this, right? So um, charisma is the ability to make people do what you want by words alone, right? And or actually even without words, right? Without negotiation, without commercial exchange, and that's a big deal. So let's talk about what it takes to do that. And so one of the things that I watch how different people interact with audiences, and I think that's a big part of how charisma is propagated. So I've been watching Amelia Dimoldenberg, and I think she's a new type of celebrity. She's British. She has a show called Chicken Shop Date, and what's really fascinating, what I find extremely fascinating about her, is how she interacts with people. So she just communicated a hyper freighted activity that she enjoys. Now, what is that hyper freighted activity that she enjoys? Well, let me explain it. So, the hyper freighted activity that she enjoys is astrology. So specifically, she was dealing with who was it again? Oh yeah, Rosalia. And Rosalia is an international celebrity. So it is interesting. Like marginal American celebrities are known all over the world, and then huge stars in other countries barely break the surface of American celebrity. It is unusual, and I'm curious if it's going to continue, but very unusual situation. So what was really interesting with Amelia Dimoldenberg, so she has this. So she's doing an interview with Rosalia, and she said, and it was really fascinating because she said to her, "Hey," and then she said to her, "I am interested in." She said, "So I'm a Capricorn," and then immediately Rosalia said, "I am a Sagittarius," right? So immediately I knew that Amelia Dimoldenberg was into astrology. The second she said that, I also knew like 25 attributes about her. I knew 25 reality elements about her and who she was, what she was interested, what she wasn't interested in, because of this hyper freighted activity that she engages in. So let's talk about hyper freighted activities. So what do I mean by this? So first of all, this is very important to understand is a hyper freighted activity is once you say I'm interested in this thing, it communicates like 55 different, I would say at minimum 25 different facets about you, about what interests you, about what is, part of your life and what is significant to you, right? And so that I find that very interesting. Just this hyper freighted activity. So, what do I know about Amelia Dimoldenberg? Because she communicated her interest in astrology. I'll give it to you. I know she's not a Christian, right? Now I could say, oh no, let me not say no. I know with I can tell with high confidence she's not a Christian, right? Christians are not interested in astrology, right? And the reason why is it's counter to Christianity. The moment I know you're not a Christian, I know you're far more likely to be liberal. You're far more likely to sign on to a whole host of modern proclivities and modern beliefs, right? Very interesting. I find that extremely interesting, right? So the other thing is, extremely few people are interested in astrology not connected to their love life. So I know immediately that she's not, almost certainly not married because she's still highly interested in dating, all right? And usually astrology is connected to being able to make predictions about connections that are romantically based. Very interesting, right? So I could go on and on and on and on, right? And the reality is, and I know people hate this. They're like, oh no no no, everybody's a special snowflake and super unique, and and it's 100% true, right? Like everybody's unique and different, right? But it doesn't matter, right? And the reason why is I don't focus on exceptions. I don't focus on individualities. And the reason why is there's no value in it, right? Like you're like, oh, I think it's important that we all treat each other individually and approach, but where the world is turning now is recognizing patterns, and there's incredible power in pattern recognition, right? And from that perspective, we are all unique, right? And we're all special snowflakes, and we can. But there's no sense in me wasting your time talking for a minute about, let's talk about this person, and they're so unique that nothing I say is appropriate to them, because from them as a group, right? What when we're talking, in aggregate, I'm talking in aggregate, I'm talking to people on 7 continents right now, right? There's no point in me talking to you about exceptions. There's a point in me talking to you about patterns, right? And astrology is a pattern, right? And so the moment you believe in astrology, there's like 25 things I can say with high confidence about you, right? I'm an evangelical Christian. The moment I tell you that, you know my stance on 15 different issues, right? Like, so that's my point, is the astrology is this major pattern. Dungeons and Dragons is a hyper freighted activity. And the second we communicate that we are a dungeon master to anyone, right? Or that we play in Dungeons and Dragons, they know 15 things about us, right? They're like, okay, so what are those attributes they know at the macro level, right? At the pattern level. What are those things? Let's talk them through, right? And this is my list, right? I'm curious what you think. Saying I'm a dungeon master, what are high probability attributes that are good? So one, you have 1 to 3 degrees, right? Like beyond high school, almost a certainty, right? And the reason why is 750 pages is the ante. That's the ante, right? I've read thousands of pages. In fact, my interest in Dungeons and Dragons commits me to 1,000 pages of reading a year. 1,000 pages a year as a dungeon master. You understand that? Right? I know I'm going to read. I already read 1,000 pages for Dungeons and Dragons in 2023. I have 2 degrees, of course. I have a master's degree, of course, right? Yeah. The other issue is hyper interest at a broad level, because I'm a world builder, right? So there's nothing I can't be interested in, right? Because I need to recreate human activity. I need to recreate human emotion. I need to recreate human intellect. I need to understand human sensation. And there's nothing outside my interest, because I'm literally a world builder. I need to build worlds, so nothing is beyond my interest. That is completely unique. So broad interest, right? And that's incredibly unique. Most people are like, I'm never going to learn about architecture. There's no topic that I say I'm not going to learn about that, right? Like because I need it all to craft this incredibly deep world, right? The other thing is, I wish this was dead, but I realize it's not. Nerd culture. I'm part of nerd culture, right? Saying, oh, I'm going to like fantasy. I'm going to like science fiction. You're not going to be a dungeon master if you don't like fantasy or science fiction. The second we say that, right? I'm going to have knowledge of Marvel and DC. I'm going to have knowledge about Harry Potter. I'm going to have knowledge about Lord of the Rings. I'm going, and as a dungeon master, you have soft hands, right? You don't have hard labored hands, right? Because and again, there are exceptions to this, but at the macro level, that's the list. Dungeons and Dragons is a hyper freighted activity. And the moment you say, I play Dungeons and Dragons, you are communicating 25 things to someone. And there are other people who are like, I will never allow those things to be attached to me. And that's one of the reasons why some people refuse to ever touch Dungeons and Dragons. It's the same thing with board games. I realized this a while ago that people are like, I'm not a board gamer. Like, I want to be able to get a date. Or like there's a whole bunch of things that the moment you say this thing, 25 other things are attached to you, right? And Dungeons and Dragons, I think, like astrology, is one of the most powerfully hyper freighted activities today. And I do think people are right. Like, you need to be very careful what you communicate, because The second you say, I play Dungeons and Dragons, you are telling people, it's like you've said 15 paragraphs to them about yourself, right? And we need to recognize this and understand it going forward. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. Did I miss anything on the list? What would you add? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Please comment below, and please consider liking and subscribing.